You should be in a position to lift up your heart and allow praise to come forth from your lips. Amen. And the moment you do it, step number 2 becomes a reality in your life. The Holy Spirit will bring the living Christ into you. You will have the mind of Jesus.
Amen.
Death precedes life in spiritual matters. Have you got it?
Amen.
Drat, I forgot my antidepressants again. Have you got it?
Yes.
Wow. And do not assume that establishing a habit of this nature is an easy thing to do. Do you know what I sometimes have to get people to do? I have to get them to get a friend to telephone them 60 mornings in a row. Think of the commitment. We're speaking commitment now, and you all know the difference, don't you, between commitment and involvement. It's like a ham and eggs breakfast. It's a great Adventist illustration. Because in the ham and eggs breakfast, the chicken is only involved, but the pig is committed. We're speaking commitment now. If your willpower is insufficient, it's like when you go to AA, you have a buddy. Well, it's the same. This is like a spiritual AA. Some of us, and like myself, were not raised in homes where these habits were established in our lives as children. I'd never set foot in a church till I was 18 years of age. And by then your habits are pretty well formed. And I've discovered something very painful. Establishing habits as an adult is far more challenging than doing it as a child. So sometimes I have to get people to get a buddy who cares enough, who is committed enough to call them 60 mornings in a row and lead them to the cross. I know I was in South New Zealand a few years ago, staying in an old farmhouse with about 30 other people. There were bodies everywhere. And they put me in a little cubby hole under the stairs. It was the worst possible place, because upstairs were lots of bedrooms and people were running up, and the bathroom was downstairs. And people were running up and down the stairs all night. And just outside this little cubby hole under the stairs was the telephone. And I'm inside in my little dark cubby hole. Door is shut. I'm dying for lack of oxygen. And the telephone rings at 5 o'clock every morning. And I'm a little embarrassed because I'm just inside the door and the telephone's just outside the door. So I can hear every word that is said on the telephone. And every morning the same footsteps came down the big staircase, an old creaky staircase. The same young lady answered the phone every single morning for the whole week that I was there. And the first morning it took me a while to register what was happening. A friend of hers was calling her at 5 o'clock every morning to lead her to the cross. Amen. And it finally dawned on me, my goodness, someone is actually doing what we have recommended to them to do. Because she confessed to me when I was talking to her later that she was unable to get this habit in place. And so she reached out to a friend, and that friend was calling her. 5 o'clock was the only time they could really get together on the phone in the morning. This young woman, beautiful young woman, was teaching at our college in New Zealand, and she just did not have this habit in place in her life. And on the final day that I was there, I'm listening for the 5 o'clock call again. I'm kind of enjoying it by now. And on the final morning, the young woman who was receiving the call turned it around and she said to her friend on the other end, I would like to take the lead this morning. And I would like to lead you to the cross this morning. I believe I'm ready to do it. And she led her friend to the cross, and they were rejoicing and singing the praises of God together. I get emails from that young lady. She is giving God the glory to this day. And she tells me that her ministry to the students has just blossomed dramatically because her peace of mind and her trust in God and her conscious presence of Jesus in her every single day is now so beautiful. She is compelled into ministry every single day. You know, you don't have to pump yourself up to go into ministry. You know that, don't you? It should not be so difficult to get people to go out into ministry, you know. The secret of ministry is to have Christ in you. Amen. Because Jesus is compelled to minister. Amen. And if he's in you every day, and he will be if step number 1 is in place, you will have the living Christ in you. And I've got news for you. When Jesus is in you, you suddenly see ministry everywhere where you never even used to notice it before. Jesus has an eye for people who are hurting. He seems to read the human heart. He knows when to reach out to somebody and share good news and encouraging news with them.